let's talk. Okay, here's the thing: setting limits that stick. I know that we all want a couple of things, right? We want good relationships with our kids. We want to have kids who are self regulated, who can manage their emotions, manage their behaviors, not let it get out of control. And we want kids who are independent, responsible, who can be thoughtful, who are empathetic, right? All of those skills that we want them to have. But what's getting in the way? Getting in the way. So much can get in the way. A lot of the times we're getting in our own way because we're just frustrated and we're going in and we are either focused on rigid rules or coming in with too much hostility, or we are focused on like punishment and consequences and control. Like, I need to control this situation. Those things will get us in trouble. We need rules. Leadership is great. Control, not so much. Right. So I want to help us let go of that rigid rule so that we can help our kids actually build the skills. Um, if you're a yeller or you get really angry, we're going to talk about some strategies for that. And punishment and praise. They just, here's the thing: punishment, is it like the end of the world? No. But does it really teach skills? No. So sometimes we're just doing it because we feel like if we don't, then we're not being responsible parents. Well, it's not that I want to take away your punishments, but I want to just give you what can you do with the punishments, and then soon you'll realize, hey, I don't even actually need these punishments. Consequences, natural consequences, things to keep boundaries for safety and health. That's absolutely necessary, right? So that doesn't mean, but in that punitive, it's taking away that punitive way. It's you can't do this because you're not showing me this kind of behavior. Instead of saying that, saying you're having some trouble, I'm going to help you because this is a concern of mine. I'm worried about your safety, or I'm worried about XYZ. So this boundary has to go into place, and not making it's because you can't and because your behavior, because that doesn't really inspire children to improve their behavior, right? We want them to be able to build their skills, but if they don't feel good about themselves, they can't build their skills. And so much traditional parenting makes kids feel bad about themselves. It's like purposefully, intentionally made to make them feel bad, right? We want them to feel pain so they remember not to do this bad negative behavior that we don't want. But it's just like backwards thinking. It doesn't work. All right. My soapbox. Let's get into questions. Awesome. Okay. We're gonna get into the nitty gritty. I'm gonna have to keep. Oh, I'm banging things. I'm gonna have to keep my eye on the time because I don't want. Um, I know, like I said, I go on tangents. All right. So, and if I pronounce your names wrong, I'm going to do my best. Um, but if I do say it wrong, please forgive me. So, Bibiana, my daughter apologizes to me often. Mommy, I'm so sorry. Can you forgive me? I feel triggered by this. Oh, mom's saying I feel triggered by this many times. Explaining there's no need to apologize. Mistakes are part of learning. We are learning together. Still, this response doesn't feel as close connection or attuned. Any advice? So yeah, this is a great one. And it's so hard when our kids, we see our kids being so empathetic and or worried, right? Sometimes kids are anxious, just sensitive, worried about how they're being perceived, worrying about whether they're being liked or included. Did you put how old your daughter is? No, you didn't say how old she was exactly, but depending on her age, lots of different reasons why she could be saying this. So I think the one thing that we want to do here is so again, think about, do we want a right now solution, or are we looking for a long term learning? So right now, when you get triggered in that moment, because mom says, I feel triggered by this, I want you to sit with your feelings right now. And this is where we say, okay, let's sit with our feeling and figure out what we need. And people are like, I don't know what I need. I just need this feeling to go away. So let's break it down even further. But think about what is like a physical need right now that you have, because maybe when you get triggered, you start to get uncomfortable in your body. So notice some sensations that are happening inside of you. And when you hear her start to apologize for something, and you want to respond with, no, 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 you don't need to. We all make mistakes. It's okay. Just breathe instead of saying all of that, and try to connect with what you're feeling in your body. Then after you do that, and here's the thing, you don't need to do anything else. I don't want you to try to push it away. I don't want you to try to investigate it right now. I don't want you to think about it. I just want you to try to sit with that uncomfortable feeling without needing to do anything, without needing to fix or change the situation. But just, I'm like, thinking about it, I'm like moving around, just trying to get comfortable. Like I can feel it in my body because I know we all can, as a parent, know what that feels like to see our children either making a mistake or in pain, and we want to help or correct or fix or stop. So just take a deep breath and let it go and sit with it. Because here's the thing, I want to let her have that experience. Like if she feels the need to apologize and then maybe investigate with her. Are you worried? Tell me about that. You seem worried. I mean, I also don't want to like name her feelings for her again, depending on how old she is, but are you worried that somebody's going to be upset with you? Are you tell me more about what you're sorry about? I don't understand. I didn't see, letting kids know that their feelings are honored, like not pushing it away. Because you said that you say there's no need to apologize. Mistakes are part of learning. I would say let her apologize and then just be curious about that. Oh, tell me more, honey. What are you sorry about? What happened? Then sometimes what happens in our mind is not what just happened for our children. So I know that we often, especially if our kids are hurting or we want to support their self esteem and we don't want them to feel badly about themselves, that we can then overcompensate and want to say, "Oh no, you shouldn't," and you did a good job or whatever it might be. And I say, just like let kids have whatever feeling they're having, and then have us take care of it for ourselves. So I was saying, take care of that physical need, and then you can go back and think about, well, what was it emotionally that maybe I needed? Because this might be more about something that you're going through than something that she needs help with. Again, could be a little bit of anxiety from her. There's so many reasons why kids might apologize. Also, little girls, like women, we say I'm sorry for no reason at all. It's almost like conditioned. So, is there a word that you could say? Is there something more affirming that you could replace with um, I'm sorry? Like, ooh, I'm trying to think of one right now, and I won't be able to because my mind will melt and then will take too long. But think of something that maybe you would replace that with that would affirm that she would, that it's okay to make mistakes without denying that she wants to say, I'm sorry. Because sometimes just reflecting back um, what you're hearing your child say in a different way is also helpful. So you're not denying what they're saying, but you can say, oh, what I'm hearing is that you're worried that I'm not going to like what you did, or I'm not going to be happy, or whatever the situation might be. Tell me about that. If that was helpful, Viviana, you can let me know. So Angie says our son is going to YouTube every chance he gets, comfort streaming, feels almost frenetic as he watches bits and pieces of influencer videos, prank videos, silly stuff that he enjoys, but seems reflexive. Oh gosh, tap, 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 watch, watch, watch. I'm so right there with you. I was just thinking this morning and I was listening to another podcast, and it was, again, here's a little bit of like the ADHD brain for me comes in because I like stimulation like that sometimes. So I will find myself doing that. And over this last year, because I've been so much more isolated, that's been like my comfort. Like if I don't have a podcast on in the background when I'm doing something like washing the dishes or editing or writing, like it feels like and I'm worried for myself about that. So I know that that's super hard for our kids as well, because I know how hard it is for myself over the last year, and it's gotten worse. And we just don't have the kind of technology that that we didn't have the kind of technology as kids as our kids have now. So this is a big one. I know this is a really challenging situation. I think I've seen some of what you guys have been doing. You've been getting outside a lot more. And I think that's what I had to do with my daughter, as I see her sort of like sink into that phone, and the same thing, like Instagram and YouTube. And she's not even watching things that I would disapprove of. Like there are sometimes informational videos. Like there's nothing that's inherently, wrong with what she's doing, but I'm worried about like the attention span, and then, her being able to focus on other things. So we've been trying to get outside as much as possible. She fights us on this for sure sometimes. Like we're going for a walk. I don't want to go for another walk. I don't know if anybody else is like sick of a year of walking because there wasn't much else to do in the beginning. But now that, things are starting to open up and life will get back to normal, I'm hoping that some of that will shift a little bit. I don't know that there are easy answers out of this one, except for um, putting in restrictions where you need to. Like, I think that's important for us as parents. There is no way around us really putting in certain limits or like timing around how long, or about maybe breaks, like letting them choose when he has the breaks, but knowing that, okay, for the next 2 hours, there's no YouTube or anything. We have to be doing something else, and then just making that just part of your daily ritual. I know scheduling is super important, and like having very like, here's the thing, I love to be spontaneous, but I also don't like when I don't like spontaneous things, which makes no sense. So I don't really know how that works, but it does. I don't like things planned all the time, but I don't like to not plan. So I don't know. It's confusing, but structure is super good. So even my daughter and I were talking about this the other day because I said I think that we need to put a little bit more structure. It's the end of the year, and she's been homeschooling this year because of the virtual school thing. And I said we've kind of like fallen out of this pattern. I'm like, I think we need to put in like every day 4 o'clock your ASL lesson, or this is your music, and that way we're making sure we're getting in the things that we were, keeping up with before, but have like fallen by the wayside because we're watching TV or tap, 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 tapping on the phone. And she was like, yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Now she's 15, right? So she can handle that, but she recognized that putting in that structure was going to be important. So I think the short-term solution is, what do I need in this moment to get through if he gets upset when we have to turn off that time? Like, what do we need? What's the right now solution that you need? Because getting through a meltdown, I know, we think of meltdowns. And for me, a meltdown is when the situation that is happening is too much, whether it be because of external stimuli, whether it be because like of a cognitive, load that's too heavy, or mental or emotional pressure, whatever it is, it's too much for the child to handle. So they're not able to adapt and switch in what we think of as, what a typical child should be able to do. So I don't like to, define and label all our kids, but I know that meltdowns can happen for older children too, like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's not just limited to younger children. And I think that parents get scared of that. I'm not speaking specifically to you guys anymore, but just in general, I know that we have to turn off screen time and things like that. Parents can get really um, worried that their children aren't growing because of this emotional storm that happens. And I think that we just need to remember that the learning curve for developing self control is really long. Like, it really starts to burst out, and the brain really starts to organize and upgrade around 13. It just starts to start growing in that area. So I don't want us to worry that our children have trouble disconnecting from these things, because it's really hard for us as adults. So we know that it's really hard for them. So outdoor time, and then creating those schedules, like having him build in the schedule too. Where am I going to have my screen time? I know that I can only have, 4 hours, because gosh, I mean, not even, it sounds like so much, but you spread that out throughout the day. Like, if he's taking a break to do whatever he wants and he gets to choose, and then really letting him choose. I think the more kids hear us like nagging and saying, you have to do this, you have to do this, or it's time to shut off this, the more they put up that resistance. So the more they have control over what their schedule and their day looks like. And that takes some planning and some trial and error and some setup. So it's not going to happen necessarily all at once. But I totally feel for you, because it's a way to check out for sure. Chris says our family needs an overhaul. Oh, here's what I want to say. If you guys want a chance to win in the giveaway, pop a question in the chat, or raise your hand. Just put something in the chat, because we're going to choose um, the question. We're going to choose the winners from the chat. And actually, can we do it from the? We can actually do it from. Actually, Tracy, let me know if we can do it just from choosing, because I'm afraid, what if people? Oh, they can raise their hands too. You know what? Let's just do it from the list if we can. Tracy, if you're listening, Tracy should be listening. We're gonna choose two people for our winners. Um, I was gonna say use the chat, but then I don't want to exclude people. Like, what if somebody's at work and they can't type in anything, and then that would stink for you. So I don't want to do that. So ignore me. I'm gonna go back to Chris. But Tracy, when you choose, will you just choose from the participants, the 31 participants in the group, instead of the chat? Because not everybody may have that ability, I realized. Right. Angie, I hope that was helpful. Chris says our family needs an overhaul. What is the best way to implement change routines, like actually having one for summer and hold kids accountable when they want no part of it, like zero? Yeah. So, Chris, how old are the kids? That's Here's what's really important is to remember that sometimes our expectations of what our children can do without help is beyond what their actual level of maturity is. And I don't mean their age level. Sometimes their emotional age is not going to be the same as their chronological age. So if you can, I'll see if I can pop down to the bottom. Okay, 12 and a half, 11 and 8. Okay, so they're super young still, right? Which is why they probably want no part of it, because at 8, 11, and 12 and a half, their friends are becoming much more important than mom, dad, whoever, any caregiver at that point. So letting them have a part in it. So how are we going to create, let me go back to your question. Um, all right. So when we need an overhaul, like with everything, obviously I can't give you like a one, quick answer in an hour class for that. But one place to start is I would come together and have a family meeting and say, what do we want our summer to look like? Like find out and like make it fun first before we get down to schedules and organizing and overhauling. Let's make it fun. Like you guys, this has been one of the most unique years we've ever had. If it has been for your family, let's talk about some of that. What was really hard this year? What did you love about this last year? If there were changes in your your community kind of thing. I know some people who live maybe in more rural areas didn't have as drastic of a change as people who lived in more condensed areas. But what so awesome. Like what do we want our summer to look like? Because I think we have to give kids a voice in what the changes are going to be. Because if we come at them and we're like, all right, summer chores, reading schedule, all this, and like we come at them with this whole overhaul of what we think needs to change, their instinct, because kids like predictability, right? Kids like things to stay the same. Sensitive kids on the spectrum love things to stay the same. Like if you're going to change things on them, you want to do it slowly. You want to implement it with a plan, with a list, and with an introduction and with their participation. Absolutely, for sure. But I think every child deserves that. So whether, no matter what kind of, whether you have a neurodivergent child or just a typically developing child, which also labels, I hate those. Whatever your kid's particular personality and sensitivities and learning style is, get their participation. So I think the best way to overhaul and figure out routines is ask them what they want the summer to look like. Think about what was really hard this last year. What did they really like that maybe was changed? As you see, I'm like going through, like I have children in front of me asking them. And also asking them for their participation. Like here are some of the things that we need to get done in the family this year. We need to make sure that all the, things the plants get watered outside. So maybe there's a list of jobs. I remember being in school in fourth grade. So I was like, what, 9, 10, and having the list of jobs go up on the board at the end of or at the beginning of the week to see if you got a job was like one of the most exciting things. And if you got the blackboard to wipe down the blackboard, with the water, and they don't probably have that now. Everybody's got smart boards now. But that was like I loved participating in that. Like having a school job was one of the most fun things. And I think when we make our chores and our family and the way that we keep our home organized and clean and things like that, or keep our kids on schedule, they want to be part of the solution. They want to actually contribute. Like, here are the things that our house needs, or here are the things that need to get done so that we stay on schedule for school next year. Here's the reading list. What do you guys think? How should we do this? Should we all have, like, maybe there's a morning quiet time from the time everybody wakes up for 30 minutes, and that's where everybody just gets their morning reading done. every family is going to be different, but I think coming together and having a meeting to start to figure out what your kids what ideas they have and what things they would like to do, how they would like to contribute. And you can do this, like get one of those really long, you do it on a chalkboard, or we have a big chalkboard wall that my daughter hates to use, but I love. But or you can use like a big roll of paper and have everybody write things down. Like make it, don't just make it like we sit there and talk in a circle too. Make it collaborative. Like everybody's and artistic or creative. Like make something. Family meetings, I don't mean to be like, you get your clipboard and you start checking off the things that need to get done, but it's really a time to come together and find out what's working. If you need to set different limits, well, that didn't seem to work. You and your sister had an agreement not to go into each other's rooms, and it looks like that agreement wasn't able, you guys weren't able to keep it this week. What do you think went wrong? Like solution problem solving through solutions, through conflict like that, in the same way that we can do that in the same way that we would do any conflict, or challenge. So coming at our kids and saying, hey, it looks like the reading wasn't done or the chores weren't done or whatever those routines that might need an overhaul. What do you think? How do you think we could work together as a family to get this done? And 8, super young. I mean, they need a lot of assistance. An 8-year-old is not going to necessarily be able to keep up with the schedule on their own. They're going to need some kind of a list, a visual, and sometimes even a visual. Like cleaning your room is a very vague kind of a big job. So if you said that to an 8-year-old, they might get so overwhelmed by even trying to organize what that means that they're not going to accomplish the task. So break it. My last comment on that, because I know I could go on forever, but my last comment on that is to break it down into smaller tasks. If you have like big chores that are going to get done or big summer projects. So plan, ask them what they like, and also give them lots and lots of notice for things that are going to change. I think that's important for kids because kids really, really, really depend on stability. Christy's asking, will this recording be available? Yes, I will send the recording to everybody who registered to attend for sure. I'm going to take one more question and then we'll choose some winners of our stuff, of our giveaway stuff. Does that work, you guys? Let's see. Sam is saying that says second. So I don't know if there's a first part to your question, Sam. Why does it look like there's a oh, here it is. I'm so sorry. Sam, your question was above. I missed it at the beginning. So Sam says I have 2 children. One is my 12-year-old is using comfort streaming. Oh, that was we kind of talked about that, right? To help her anxiety. And to be honest, I am lost on my phone too. It's the first thing she reaches for. Okay, so actually that question was just like Angie's, right? So we kind of covered that one. And then the second is she has a hard time telling me what is wrong or bothering her. And she tells me that she doesn't have to tell me and she can figure it out on by herself. Is this the 12-year-old? Um, yeah, the 12-year-old. Opening up, emotional. So she um she has and does tell me some things, but she's at the age where she feels like she can handle it and then I just need to listen. She also does say some hurtful things. Like last night she said, "Well, that didn't help me at all." Oh, total trigger, mom says. It's like you're trying to be so helpful and then they just reject you and tell you that you're completely useless. I posted recently, I was like, how do we go from being the most amazing people to our children to being like completely useless and stupid, quote unquote? Of course, I was being humorous, but it does seem like that. It seems like we go from really, really important in the world and having answers and information to you like being not even worthy of being in the same room as them. It's part of development. So I think that one question to always go one way to avoid feeling that rejection just to protect yourself too is to always say I ask, are you looking for some information or advice or do you just want me to listen right now? And I would say that most of the time I just want you to listen because the truth is that's all they really do need. So 12 kids are fine, in that adolescent age they start to disconnect from us a little bit naturally because it helps them figure out who they are. Like being in a group from 8 to like 10, 12, being part of a group and being recognized in that group and having a part and role is really important. And then as kids start to get a little bit older and they move into the teenage years, then they want to start to individuate a little bit. They want to start to recognize who they are and how they're different from the group, and especially us as their caregivers, their parents. So that is really normal. So I think asking, are you just looking for someone to listen? Do you just want me to listen right now, or do you want me to offer some ideas that I have? Is important because then you'll get the answer, and then you won't feel like you're giving information that's not received. Because sometimes they really don't need our information. They don't need. I mean, of course, we have to help our kids sometimes, but at that age, it's really about, does anybody feel how misunderstood I feel? Does anybody understand how anxious or upset I am? And you don't need to fix the anxious and upset. You just need to go in and recognize that it's happening. You- I can tell that maybe you need some alone time, or maybe I mean, I don't even like to go in and necessarily, again, I don't like to name our emotions for our older children or tell them how they're feeling, because that can put us, one, we could be wrong, and I don't want to just assume. um, so asking, is there something I can do for you right now? It looks like maybe you want to just have someone listen. You need to get some things off your chest. Like asking those kinds of things can help them feel, and she still might say, "No, I don't need you. Don't, stop talking." I know that that's a big trigger in our family because I say that sometimes, and not necessarily to, well, I don't even know I say it to, but if I get really overwhelmed by sound, I might say, "Okay, everybody stop talking." And then my daughter will say that. Super trigger. One of my parenting fails. The stop talking thing. And my daughter will say that to me, and I know that it really triggers her dad. Your fault. It's a little bit my fault. So sometimes it's the overwhelm of having somebody else um, even ask us questions about our worry or anxiety, because we'll start to then worry or want to help or want to give solutions or ideas. And then that will be too overwhelming for the person in distress. So I think that just kind of following her lead on that one. Um, let's see, Christine, how do I discipline my 3-year-old when he throws things at me, or his baby brother? Disciplining when he hurts his baby brother. Oh, we have a 3-year. All right, so let's go down to the little kids, and this is where I was talking about. Oh, and I'm gonna answer Christine's question, and then we'll do the giveaway. So I will wait for so Tracy, if you will send me our winners, um, I will announce them after this question. So when we have little kids, and I actually have a couple of YouTube videos on hitting and throwing and all kinds of stuff. So definitely go to my YouTube channel and click on toddlers and preschoolers, the playlist. Get lots of little videos with all kinds of different scenarios, language examples, all kinds of things. But let's think about where a 3-year-old is in their brain development, because sometimes I think that uh, that parents have this misunderstanding, and this is through no fault of our own. It's just nobody tells us anything. We just assume by either how we were raised that children should, once they're told something, then they should be able to follow directions. But a 3-year-old actually does not have the same kind of impulse control that's necessary. And we might say, well, they do, because I know that when I tell him in that situation, he has been able to not hit or not do XYZ. So it's not about whether they can or can't do, but it's about how strong that break, that ability to stop themselves, that strength. It's a brain um, skill that children have, like self-regulation and impulse control. These are skills that young children don't have consistent access to. So they may be able to show those skills sometimes, but because of their young age, it's not consistent. So the best way for you to do it is, one, always like go in and be the actual physical boundary. So if how old, we have a 3-year-old, I'm not sure how baby brother. So it's a littler one. So if you know that the 3-year-old is having trouble being alone with his baby brother, you just actually have to be the boundary right now, not let them be alone, or make sure that you're able to shadow him. Um, Now I know there will be some times where it's absolutely not necessary, and sometimes, little brothers are gonna, whack the other baby brother, and then they're gonna like fight, and they're gonna get through it, and they're gonna actually work it out, and maybe the baby brother's gonna look at him and say, "Hey, what'd you do that for?" kind of thing, and they're gonna find their relationship. So I don't think that we always have to run in and be, you know, like be playing judge and jury for every single little interaction. But obviously, for safety, if the little one is getting hurt, we need to actually step in, because we don't want to call across the room and from 10 feet away, and as the 3-year-old has something in his hand ready to hit the little one, because he won't necessarily have the impulse control. Sometimes like yelling at that point because it's necessary, stop, don't, or walking over, saying their name loudly to get their attention might work. But those are, in extreme circumstances. But generally, what we want to do is walk over and narrate the situation for them. So we might say something like, uh, you know, it looks like you're having a hard time. I'm not going to let you hit your brother because that's not safe. I want to help you. And then, a 3-year-old doesn't necessarily need to talk it out, right? But we just need to let them know you're having a hard time. I'm going to help you. Not going to let you hit your baby brother because that's not safe. And what happens is, in his brain, he goes, and he might like resist you and still want to hit, but you're going to say, I'm not going to let you. I know you're really, really mad. Here's something else you can do. And then you offer a sensory tool, like something to squeeze or something to rip or something to pull. We don't want to have a lot of discussion with a 3-year-old. You really want to stay with him and try to just emotionally connect, get down on their level, and then give them a physical tool if they're actually getting aggressive or getting physical. Sometimes it's their way of saying, hey, you're in my way. Like, he's acting out, or being physical with the little brother because it's too close. He crawled into his space where he was trying to work when he was building that Lego, and then baby brother crawled in and he whacked him because he got in his space. But he doesn't have the ability to stop and think, oh, he's little, he doesn't know how to stop, he was just crawling, so he just pushes him, right? It's a very instinct based. They're at that age, they're very instinctual. So, oh, well, he got in your space and he ruined your Legos. You built that tall tower so high, and he came over and he knocked it down, and that made you so mad. Narrating that for your child, and then they just feel heard. And what does it do? It soothes them, it calms them, the connection and that repetition. So every time you have that kind of an interaction, you build the break in their brain. You build that muscle that says, I'm going to be able to stop, but it's not instantaneous. So that kind of development, you're looking at like 5.5, 6, 7. That's when kids start to get a little bit less physical. But 3, 4, actually between 2 and 4 is when that kind of when the physical kind of behaviors really peak, and things like hitting. So that's a prime age for that. So it's not something that I would worry about. But you being the boundary, narrating for kids, you got so mad you hit your brother. I'm going to help you so that you can stay safe, because we have to keep everybody safe, and moving him away physically, instead of saying, if you don't, or counting to 1, 2, 3. The idea is we don't want to let kids, um, especially little kids, we don't want to wait for them to quote unquote behave, or to adapt their behavior. If they're that little, we need to actually, especially if there's a safety issue, we need to step in and help them, so that no one uh, gets hurt. Does that make sense? But I have a lot of, I'm trying to I want to give you so much information about that. And I'm trying to squeeze it all through by like 3 minutes where I'm talking, because we're getting towards the end. So I have more to say on that, but I do have a lot of good videos too on about building that. Here's the thing, guys. We also need to regulate our emotions. So we can't go in and be, because we actually have to be the break. We're co-regulating with our kids to help them calm down. So a 3-year-old can't just stop hitting when they're really excited. They actually need us to come in and connect with them in some kind of an emotional, physical way. Not always physical. Some kids don't want to be touched. They need space, kind of thing, when they're angry. Um, but it's about us. It's about, why am I reacting in this moment? What is getting me so upset? So when I said that I wanted to give you some longer term strategies, what I want you guys to take away, what I want you to do, I'm going to answer some more questions, but I just want to tell you a couple of things that I want you to do this week so that you can build long term skills for yourself and your kids. And if you've done this before, I want you to do it again because pretend you're brand new. Pretend you've never done any personal development work because really it's constantly we're peeling an onion, we're constantly upgrading, we're constantly getting better. It's not something that like, oh, I already investigated my past. I know it was really crazy and I had a really tough childhood, or I had a great childhood. I had nothing to really look in. Excuse me, look at in that regard. And you're brand new, like you've never heard any of this information. And this week, just be aware. Just start to notice when you get upset in your body, when your body feels reactive. So something happens, you watch your children in some kind of a situation, there's some kind of a conflict, or they say no to you. And then just watch how your body reacts. Or maybe it's not even your children. Maybe it's, the driver that cut you off, or a family member that's upsetting you, or your partner, or someone at work. Start to just notice all of these reactions that you have, whatever it is, whether it's this urge to like yell, or whether it's urge to shut down and be really quiet and closed off. Notice what's happening in your body. And then we're talking about, the needs. Like we're always asking parents to, you have to know what you need too. And it's true, you really do. But I want us to just start taking care of ourselves physically. So there's, needs like, oh, I need more time, I need connection, I need a break, I need to talk to somebody, I need adult conversation, I need to have some stress relief. There's all kinds of things that we might need, but I want to just stay in the physical this week and think about what do you need to help you get through this moment so that you don't feel so tight in your chest, or so that you don't feel like your head's going to explode, or you don't get a tummy ache. Like some people get really anxious and angry, and then their stomach starts to hurt, or they start to cramp, or they get or they have joint pain. Like there's like chronic stress that builds up that actually affects uh, visibly in those ways. So just pay attention this week to when you become reactive to something or anything, um, or something that your child says, or anything that anyone might say that causes your body, that elicits some kind of a physical response in your body, and just jot it down or start to notice what those things are. And it may seem like this has nothing to do with parenting. It has everything to do with parenting, you guys, because the more that we can stay composed and conscious, not perfect, but the more that we feel good, the less our children's behaviors are going to come in and interrupt our week and steal our peace. Like we won't go through the everyday exhausted and tired, um, if we are not if we're consciously taking care of ourselves. And that doesn't mean that you need to go spend a lot of money or get a massage or take, long luxurious bubble baths. It means just starting to notice what's happening. Just literally taking care of yourself by noticing, oh, I got really tight in my chest. And then taking care of that moment for yourself. How many of you guys actually do that? Do you do that now? Because I fall off the wagon. Like I do it and then I don't do it. And then I have to work on it. I have to actually work on when I'm having a conflict with my daughter still to this day. All right, step back. There's really not a reason to judge this situation and like walk myself through it. So I'm sorry, I keep kicking. Can't. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm getting ready to announce our winners. And then let me know if you did that. And then I'm going to get back to the questions because we still have some time. Fernando says, I try, but always successful. I wonder if he means, well, that's good if you're always successful, but even if you're always unsuccessful, that would be it's little steps, right? So I know people say, oh, I can't meditate, I can't do any of that. And it's like, don't try to meditate for an hour. Like meditate for 3 minutes. Like just sit and quiet your mind for 3 minutes. Really small steps. Just like when I was talking to Chris about to overhaul everything, just pick like 2 areas that you want to work on and take small Small steps. Put a timer on your phone. Um, Headspace and Insight Timer. Those are apps that you can use that will track. Like if you're like me, like you see, oh, you get the little dopamine hit of like, oh, I did 8 days in a row without missing my meditation. That kind of stuff can be super helpful for people that just feel like, and I can't get into a routine or nothing works. Julia says, I take a moment to breathe and go to the bathroom. And to do that, yes, like hide out and just step away and breathe. It seems so silly, right? We're like, oh, we have to breathe. People are like, I breathe all the time. I don't know. It's just, it's crazy how much we don't actually breathe in those moments. All right, are you guys ready for some giveaway stuff? Um, I'm announcing some winners. If you already happen to have this class, then you can let me know. Just post in the comments, and I'll find something else to give away to you if this happens to be the case, because I know that some of you guys have taken classes before. So let's do our giveaway, and then we'll get back to the questions. I'm going to announce the 8-week series. So this is an 8-week series. This is really about taking you from transforming. There are the steps that we have to take, right? We have to transform the way that we think about behavior and our children and our role as parents. Before we can even use conscious communication, we have to start to look at, like, am I looking at this child and wanting to judge this behavior? Am I focused on that behavior, or am I trying to figure out, how do I help them? How do I create stronger relationship? And what do I need to help them build those skills? So this class walks you through from the very beginning, transforming your view, and then helping you build that tolerance, just like we're saying, lots more tools to help you walk through and overhaul those patterns that you might have that were probably started in childhood, but maybe some of them were picked up in adulthood too. um, and then work on the repair, on relating to our kids again, on really building that relationship. And then we're finally able to communicate. So I gave you guys, and I have a couple of more tools that I'll share at the very end, but those are some of the steps that we need to do. One of the first ones is becoming aware of what's happening for ourselves in our bodies. So you guys can start with that. But the winner of our 8-week series is Nancy Marshall. So Nancy, let me know if you, what you can do is send me in the chat, or you can also email it to me if you want to reply to any of the emails, your email address, and then we can connect you and get you that 8-week series. And for everybody, the 8-week series is on sale for the rest of this week. And I'm going to give you guys a code. So if you want, because I don't want to make things like unaffordable for everybody. And right now everything's set to like a year subscription, but I think we're going to just make that lifetime access to for however long the series is up. But right now everything is still up on you get a whole year to access the course. So there's no rush to do it, but you also get access to every time we do a live round, which we're going to do a live round of the Peaceful Solutions course this summer with me and some of my parent educators that have trained with me with the Teach curriculum. So we're going to be leading that this summer, and you will have access to that. Yes, wonderful. You're welcome. You're so welcome. Good. So you have not been in that class. So if that is something that you are interested in, definitely send me your email, because you got your spot in that. And then for the $25 gift card, Visa gift card, Kate Hollingham. Kate, I'm going to send you a gift card just for showing up today. Hi, and being here. Thank you so much. Go buy yourself something nice, or go out to lunch or something with that. We will connect. Send me your email address and I'll connect, and we can get your actual address so I can send that out to you. Oh, you're in the UK. Oh, yikes. Can you use a Visa gift card? Because I could probably send it in the UK. You might be able to send. Oh, you're in the UK. All right, we're going to find something else for you. Let's get another winner for that one. Kate, have you been in my class? Is that a yep, yes, you've been in the class? I'm wondering, because some of you guys, I know your names, and I'm like, wait, do I know your name? You've been in my class. All right, Tracy, if you're still listening, Tracy might have had to go, but if you're still listening, let's pick another winner for the no, not in your class. Okay, well, I'm going to give you a spot in the class too if you'd like, because I can't give you the $25 gift card because you're in the UK, but I can give you a spot in the 8-week class if you'd like some help with that. So you've got that if you'd like that. Email me. and we'll pick another winner for the $25 gift card. We'll do that. Awesome. You're welcome. You're so welcome. I'm glad that works. So if you're in the, I know I can't choose. There's probably a lot of you that are all over the world. So I might be choosing people over and over to try to give that gift card away, but we'll figure it out. We'll make it work because you all showed up today. So somebody needs to take that. Somebody needs to go in the, um, I love how you, all right. So if you're in the US and you can post in the chat, Tracy's going to pick another one. Um, let's see. Oh, she did. Thank you so much. Okay. Amy Roth. Amy Roth, are you in the US? See, if it was like a Amazon gift card, or probably I could probably do it. Amy Roth, let me know if you are in the US because I'm going to send you. Yes, you are. Amy, thank you so much for coming today and joining us. I'm going to send you the $25 gift card, and Kate and Nancy are going to get spots in the class. So I hope that works. Thank you guys. Thanks for working that out. I know being international doesn't necessarily work for that particular giveaway, but sometimes we give away t-shirts and things. So I can definitely mail t-shirts to the UK and things like that. So we can, we'll do that next time. We'll have, I'll make sure that I have something for our international participants for the next one. All right, so let's answer. I have some time, so I'm going to answer a few more questions. Thank you if you having to log off. Thank you so much for joining me, and it was. I'm so glad that you guys came. But I'm going to stay on. I'm going to answer a few more questions, and I will, of course, send you the recording if you need to jump off. Tracy, thank you so much for finding picking another winner for us. All right, you guys. So oh, love 50. I told you I was going to give you a coupon code and I didn't do that. Love 50. So if you go to my website and you click on courses and then you click on peaceful solutions for parents and kids, you will see that there's a sale going on. But if you put love 50, it'll take another $50 off of the course. It's an 8-week course, 8 lessons. So it takes you through very short daily videos. So it ends up taking you, 2 months if you just do it, 5 days a week kind of thing. But it takes you through the course very slowly. And then it also comes with 12 live Q&A calls with just our Teach Through Love community, just the people in classes and courses right now. And then anytime we run the Peaceful Solutions Round 8-week series live, you also get access to that. So that's what that is. So if anybody wants access to the course and it's like a whole journey. It's I don't like to call things not like an intensive because I don't want you to think like, oh, there's intense learning going on. It's really a breakthrough program to overhaul your thinking, your ability to respond and relate to your children, and of course, your communication. So that's what that is. All right, let's get back to the questions. I'm going to go right down in the row. Okay, so Kate, I kind of answered your question when I was talking about connecting with kids and maybe not asking them outright also, but she was saying that she has a 15-year-old who's really reluctant also to discuss anything that is sensitive. I think sometimes, did you guys see, I have a journal. Where is it? It's the Me and You journal. My daughter used a journal that we pass back and forth that helps her get things out that she may not want to say to me directly. So it's called Just Between You and Me. So it's actually a journal for that purpose. It has some journal prompts, but then there's also blank pages that you can use. This is one way that we can connect with our kids. I think conversations in the car or while we're playing games so that they're not like direct, oh, let's talk about your emotional well-being right now, which can feel like, oh no, thanks, but no thanks. That is those are a couple of ways that we can kind of get in there to open up conversations. But I think writing, a lot of kids, I did not like talking about my feelings. I didn't like talking, like when someone asked me how I am, like, I don't even know how to answer that question. I don't even know, like, how I am. There's so much to that answer, and I think that sometimes it's hard for kids to put into words how they're feeling or what's bothering them. So writing it out, and then, of course, maybe having some of those conversations when you're playing a game or when you're just in a car ride is time when it's uh, a little bit less intrusive for them. They don't feel put on the spot. It's a little bit easier to open up sometimes. Let's see. Margaret says, I have an autoimmune disease that has left me bedridden in the past, and all of my kids who are 12, 8, and 4 have dealt with it differently. But my 8-year-old asks me often if I am dying and tells me he doesn't want me to die. His anxiety is so high that he doesn't like it when I'm not around. He's also been my strong-willed child who has emotional outbursts. And what's the best way to help him with with his anxiety? So, Margaret, I'm so sorry that you're having those health challenges. I know that stress of any kind and stress that's ongoing like that, um, it affects the whole family in so many different ways, and it can be really, really challenging. So, I don't want to. There are no easy answers here necessarily, but I think this goes back to what I said earlier about just letting kids have those feelings. I think it can be really, really hard to obviously have your child ask you if you're dying, and how do we answer that? How do we tell a child that we're sick without worrying them or without making them think that they're going to be sick, because they're related to us. So will I get sick? Will I be like this, mommy? Because I think that comes in as well. Um, Obviously, I think, and I'm not a therapist, so you guys, this is not necessarily a topic that I'm going to speak on with a therapeutic lens. I'm just going to talk here as a parent educator and as um, a highly sensitive person. But I think that what we need is to one, I think maybe some outside, like who is there outside therapy? Does he have some support where he gets to actually maybe play therapy? I think is really helpful for kids so that they can um, work out some of their anxiety or their worries in that therapeutic way, but not through like talk therapy. It's actually guided through children's language, which is play. So that's something that you can do as well. You can have conversations where they're role playing with dolls or puppets or things like that. That can sometimes be a way that kids can just open up and have those conversations. I think just letting him really speak his mind and saying, you tell, gosh, it's so hard. I don't even want to, my words are getting all twisted up because it's just a really challenging kind of a situation. And again, I'm not a therapist, you guys. I am a parent educator. I'm an advocate for emotionally healthy relationships. So please know that that is not my area of expertise. But I think just listening to our kids, supporting them the best way means not judging outbursts as much as we can, right? Conscious, not perfect. It's about um, finding tools to help children manage their anxiety. And that looks different for every child. That may mean we need to have like, do we need to work on the relationship? Does he need more supportive tools, helping him physically manage emotions, like sensory support? Do you have, like, for an 8-year-old? I know when my daughter was 8, we had a lot of physical sensory tools that we used to help her manage anger. So whether that was me, whether that was like a tent that we had in her bedroom that she could go. Actually, when she was 8, she may not have been using like the tent. That might have been like when she was 6, 7, but there was quiet spaces. There was like she liked a lot of privacy. She also could be very physical, so we did a lot of like tug of war with blankets and just to get feelings out and letting kids have that time where they get to express and not trying to talk them out of it. I think that's just the most important thing. I don't really want to say too much more about that because that's more of I don't want to talk about mental health and things and give you advice that's not necessarily um, you might need to seek a professional for that. But in terms of honoring where he is, I just think it's important to not try to talk our kids out of, oh, don't worry, or I'm right here, or you don't need to worry anymore. I'm fine. I'm not going anywhere. I think honoring, like, it's really scary when you see that I'm having some trouble or I'm sleeping a lot. Tell me more about what that's like for you, or sometimes kids don't want to talk about their feelings, right? So we can have them creative ways? Like, does he or she get out their feelings through um, what creative ways? My daughter loves to paint and she's very artistic. And that's the way when I was young, I loved to write. So I used to get out my feelings by writing. Like that was a creative outlet. Other kids might find a lot of joy in things like sports or activity. What is their, do they have any passions or talents? I think channeling our emotional upset into creative ways. It's just a great way to really deal with those kinds of things and emotions and anxiety and all of that. Right. Um, so I'm sorry, Margaret. I hope that helps, and I hope that you're doing better with your autoimmune challenges. Mara says, my son absolutely refuses to do schoolwork most days. I've homeschooled since the pandemic and I've tried everything and nothing has worked. So, Mara, I'm wondering how old your child is. If you're still on the line, let me know. Because here's the thing absolutely refuses schoolwork. It's so hard because if schoolwork means I have to sit and write vocabulary words and sentences, that might be really hard for a child. Does schoolwork mean I have to sit and watch a video on a Zoom class, or does schoolwork mean like what is it that they have to get done? How can we break it down? If you have a child that's in sixth grade, like underage, like 10, 11, um, I say let it go. If they're in high school, okay, we got to work on, strategies to keep us organized, breaking assignments down into smaller chunks. Them absolutely like the refusal. This is what we want to do when we want to look at situations and we think, oh, they're refusing. We want to flip the lens. And if you guys haven't taken my chaos to cooperation retreat, that shows us how to flip the lens. My 8-week course will do that too. But that is a free 10-day course that you can take. It shows us how we can start to look at the question differently or the challenge differently and name it differently so that we can start to actually give kids information, quality feedback. We want to be able to give kids quality feedback so that they can adjust their behavior. So let me see if you were able to tell me how old little one is. 7. Oh yeah, super little. Yeah. Gonna refuse. So ignore everything I said about the teenagery thing because that won't apply. A 7-year-old, let them do their, if they have to do spelling words, let him do jumping jacks while you call out the words and he tries to memorize. Like find creative ways to make schoolwork fun. I think that a 7-year-old does not need to do schoolwork. That's my personal opinion. I know some people are gonna like shame me and blame me for that. You can do that, but it's just so unnecessary. If it's stressing him out, because here's the thing, he's not refusing because he doesn't want to. He's refusing because the mental um, the mental and the cognitive load that he has to take on to probably get something done that maybe is not so fun depending on like schoolwork, because schoolwork is just like boring most of the time. If it's not relational, if it's not social and interactive, like if he's not going around and interviewing mom and dad about how many what the grocery budget is this week to find out more about things that are actually related to life, like if it's about I have to write down my spelling words or I have to sit and I think we make a lot of 7-year-olds sit and write and read before they're ready, and that causes refusal because their brains aren't ready to actually sit and do that kind of work. They need to be up and physical and moving. So if you can adapt what he needs to do to make it fit his learning style, because here's the thing, what is his learning style? My daughter, not one that likes to sit and listen. She didn't listen and learn. She needs to do, right? Like give her an experiment and she will learn way more than if you sit and make her write out a bunch of facts. It's just the way she happens to process and learn information. So every kid is definitely going to be different here, but a 7-year-old, oh, if he's at home and he's not with his friends, like there's not a lot that we can help motivate. So what are the bare minimum things that he needs to get done? I said recently on a talk, like, don't worry about learning loss with our kids, especially like little kids like that, like 7. I think back to my 7-year-old and she seemed so very mature back then. And she was so little. Like, look at his feet. They're probably really little still. He's so little. And I'm sorry, is it a boy? I'm not sure if it's a I'm saying he. So I could be misgendering. So forgive me for that. But your child may be very much struggling because it's just too much for them to handle at the moment. So how can we break it down? So if there are things that we need to get done and you're like, look, I'm a stickler, I need him to do these spelling words. I don't care what you say, Lori. Then what I want you to do is say, okay, how can we get him to how can we break it down into really small bits? Like we're gonna do 5 minutes of spelling and we're also going to do jumping jacks with it, so and we're making it fun and connected. That will also help him spell, right? Like moving our physical bodies and learning things like that. So can we connect the learning and the things that he needs to do to something fun, and can we break it down into just really really small bits? If you're saying he has refused all of that, I'm going to say let it go. I'm going to say what's that kid what's the real challenge here? What There's something that's getting in his way. If that's something that were to continue, like, into his school years, then I would say, let's get that kid evaluated. Maybe they need some occupational therapy. Maybe their brain and their body isn't working together to help them slow down and sit down and actually sit down and work and do something, like write down I'm just using spelling words because I'm trying to think what else do 7-year-olds do, right? They have really like simple things, like maybe a math sheet kind of thing. Like all of that. Is there a fun way to do it that's not maybe worksheets and school work? Is there school fun that we could make? Those are my thoughts on that. But I also have a video on that question too in my YouTube channel. When kids are refusing like homework and things like that, how we can make that a little bit easier, how we can help the strategy. So go to my YouTube channel if you think that might be more helpful too. All right, let's take a couple more and then we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for hanging on. I wanted to answer as many questions as I could. Christy is saying she's new and she wants to first thank you for all the valuable advice. You're so very welcome. Thank you for being here. I have a 5.5-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son with one more on the way. Congratulations. And trying to break the generational cycle I grew up with and move forward with a more gentle approach to parenting. I have many questions, but she's just listening. Well, listen. Well, welcome, Christy. I hope that you're getting lots of more good information. Let me go down. Okay, here's some more questions. And one of those steps to breaking those patterns is, again, just start to noticing what's happening in my body. Because once we start realizing how very reactive we are, we might notice just how much we're contributing to the conflict in our home. Because I was saying earlier, we all want similar things for our kids, right? Regulated kids, good relationships. I want them to have skills. But what are we doing that actually supports that? And um, are our habits, our reactions, and maybe consequences that we're implementing, is that getting in the way of the skills and relationship and the tolerance we want our children to have and build, or is it actually supporting it? Again, think, what do I need right in this moment? What do I need right now? My right now solution? I need to just breathe and try to keep it together and get out the door. I need to put these shoes in the car and get out the door. And my long-term solution is, hey, I'm going to figure out, like, maybe there's a way that I can I'm thinking of little kids get the shoes out the door, just put the shoes on the kid and they get upset and you're like, I know you don't like to have these shoes on, kind of thing. And we empathize. There's a lot of empathy that goes along with setting limits that stick. It's not when our kids get upset and they start pushing back against the limit and then we go, "Oh, what's happening? They don't like my limit. I gave it empathetically and I gave it consciously and I'm nice, and what's wrong?" It's like, know that when you set that limit with compassion and confidence, like, it's not just with compassion, it's with confidence too. I'm not going to let you do that. It's not okay. I know that you're really upset with me. And then leave it at that, not like a but and trying to explain yourself or reason with your child. We do a lot of reasoning and logic and all of that. Like, you don't have to do any of it. We just need to let our kids have their feelings a lot of the time. All right, let me find some of you guys are were writing, yes, I'm in the US, so I'm trying to scroll through those, make sure I know that there are some questions that I missed here. Um, Julia says, take a moment to breathe and go to the bathroom." We did mention that. Mention that again. Walk away, you guys. Whenever you're struggling with your kids and you're like, I don't know what to do, I like to breathe and take a moment to compose myself by saying, you know what, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed in this moment and I don't know how to respond. So I'm going to walk away and then I'm going to come back a lot of the time in the moment. Um, okay, so Julia says, my 7-year-old has very much a teenage sensibility in her interactions with me. I'm a single mom in my 50s and I am struggling with boundaries. She says no and has even been trying to bite me when we arrive at a play date. The other day, she was having a ball with a play date with our neighbor, only to throw a plastic hammer at me when I came to pick her up. Oh, so her immediate reaction to seeing you was to drop down into her stress response mode and to resist and to defend herself, right? So this is like, so when you say her, when she saw me was her only to throw a plastic hammer at me when I came to pick her up, that can be really, that can trigger us into being really reactive, right? Feeling disrespected, feeling like, I just got here, why are you already starting to get upset with me, kind of thing. But if we can switch the lens and remember that that is a 7-year-old who doesn't have a lot of coping skills yet, and even if they have coping skills on a good day, they don't necessarily have them available in that moment. When she saw you walk in, the only thing that came into her mind was, "The fun is about to stop." And her immediate reaction to having that fun shut down was to throw something. And so I'd go in and even say that, and taking privacy sometimes, you like not just saying that out loud, but going in and saying, "Hi, sweetheart. Wow, that you surprised me when you threw that at me, but I'm thinking that you saw me and you thought my fun is about to end and you didn't want it to end." Right, and then just staying there, like, I think that sometimes as parents, we feel like we have to rush in, "Well, that's not okay, and you need to act appropriately, and you've had all this time to play, and you should be thankful," right, when we go into all kinds of things in our heads. Or even we might say all that empathy, and then we go, "But that's not okay to do, so I need you to walk back over there and pick up that pink hammer," right, and we go right to the behavior, like, "I'm gonna nip this behavior in the bud." And I'm not saying that, Julia, you do this, but just as an example, of what I've surely thought of and probably done in the past. So in that moment, it's really about switching that lens and seeing that this is a 7-year-old who saw her fun about to end. And absolutely, it was not appropriate to throw the pink hammer, but she knows that, right? Because it's 7, she's not unaware that that's not okay. So going in and addressing that only puts emphasis and focus on the poor choice and not on what motivated the poor choice. So the whole idea behind conscious parenting and conscious communication, you guys, is about knowing giving your kids quality feedback, responding to what motivated the behavior so that your child can adjust, can adapt, can tolerate, can learn, oh, I got really upset. I saw mom. Thank you for honoring and validating that. Yes, that's exactly, I'm not saying that they're going to say this, but in the relationship, in those interactions, when we come in and we validate and we honor, their bodies go, they relax, they feel acknowledged, they feel validated. And then the cognitive thinking brain, the higher brain, can come online and be thoughtful and recognize. And then as they get older, the cognitive brain becomes the dominating force, hopefully. But right now, at 7, she has intermittent access to those cognitive skills. So the way that we help shape that development is through repetition. Now, sometimes kids need more skills, like really sensitive kids maybe need privacy. Maybe they do need some, like sometimes smaller, shorter play dates, too much excitement can make kids really overwhelmed and dysregulated and they can't calm down. So if they've had like play date after play date after play date and no downtime and no time to really connect with just you or be at home or be by themselves, there's lots of ways that we can, put implement strategies throughout the week. But in those moments, it's about going up, making that emotional connection. And now maybe that child would um, shut down and turn away and say, I don't want to leave. I don't care. Right. So I'm not saying that when you go in with this emotional connection that your child is immediately going to melt into your arms and be like this like sweet moldable little thing. No. But what you're doing is you are telling the brain, this is a safe situation. I'm safe. You're outside of the boundary a bit, but I'm going to help you stay inside of it. Right. And it's this calm confidence that we have that shapes their brain development, that says to their brain, this is the way that you want to go. Because otherwise, if we go in with reactivity or with judgment or shame, they drop further down, if that's possible. They stay in their survival brain, they stay in their stress response because they need to defend themselves. You had enough time. No, I didn't. I didn't have enough time to play. I don't want to leave. You know, we can get into a logical debate all day long, but it's about going in and staying calm even when they give us pushback or resistance to those mm, limits that we have to set. Um, but mom, let me see. There was probably more under that question, but I wanted to just address that hammer. Um, oh, okay, so she became so ashamed by me coming in hot to tell her she could never throw anything at me that she cried for an hour and hid under a chair. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you went through that. But so you see what I mean. So how that kind of backfired, right? You went in because you knew that I'm going to set this limit. That's not okay. But because you weren't in a place yet to be able to give that quality feedback, to see beyond that reaction, to help her in that moment, it kind of went the opposite way. That's okay. That happens. My child has cried from things that I've said and done. So you guys, there's no shame in that. We repair is the best thing. Going back and saying something like, I came in and I was really upset when I saw that hammer fly at me. And I wanted to come in and tell you how much I did not want you to do that and how not okay that was. But what I missed was that you were just really upset that the play date was ending. And maybe I could have said that. Maybe I could have noticed that for you. Just be honest with your kids. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to have all these perfect speeches. The conscious communication cards, well, the most wonderful thing that they do is they give you not just words, because words are always going to change. It's going to be different. They give you what to do. Notice without judgment. Acknowledge feelings. Validate needs. We say it, we know it, but do we do it in the practice, right? We might just go right into that situation and go right to, like, who do you think you are? You've been playing and we're doing it kindly and almost begging. So we feel like we should be accommodated and we should be respected because we're not yelling, maybe. We're doing it like very logically and very right. We say right brained, or excuse me, we say left brained with our kids. I want us to go right brained. Like when you saw that hammer, and of course, if it's something that was, you got hit and got hurt, your reactions are just natural. But then the follow-up is what's most important. Like I got hurt. It was not a safe choice to make, but I know that you were really struggling in that moment. So let's think about some ways that I could help you maybe when that happens, or what are some things that maybe you could do. So once our kids feel regulated and connected, then they can get to that problem solving point. But it's not when we come in hot and sort of lay down the law immediately and then expect them to shift their behavior. That's like traditional thinking. Definitely the way a lot of us were raised. And a lot of people might even say, well, that's the way I was raised and I learned. And I have a good relationship with my parents. Yeah, but do you struggle with motivation? Do you struggle with getting stuff done? Do you shop a lot? Do you overwork? Do you have really, if you have healthy relationships and you are in a place where you're emotionally regulated and your daily life is not stress free, but you're able to ride the waves, then that's what we want to give to our kids. So how did you build those kinds of skills? If you don't have that, if you are feeling frustrated, if you are tired, if you are stressed out with your kids, then it's like, then we all need to start building our tolerance. It's not just we need to get our kids to change their behavior. We all need to do that. And I know a lot of parenting programs focus on what our kids should do and, discipline tips and tricks and tools. But for me, the most important thing is, how do we get you into that space? How do we get you to start to let go of some of that generational trauma, right? That somebody was talking about earlier. That's about looking at, how do I react? What are my, not just my physical needs that I was talking about, you guys following up with, but what are my emotional needs? Also following up and checking in with, hmm, what feelings were coming up for me in those moments. I did not pay attention to feelings until I was in my like 20s. I did not know that those were like a thing that did anything with life. Like feelings were not something that were part of my conscious awareness that you needed to know about. And once I started becoming aware of what was coming up in me and how often things were coming up that were making me react to situations in ways that were completely defeating to what the outcome was that I wanted. And conscious communication for me was not just about, and I'm talking about in life, not just with my kid, but it wasn't just about me coming in and saying things differently. It was about me really seeing and understanding people differently and myself. Like, I'm reacting this way, I realize because I haven't slept, or I haven't been able to connect with anybody, or I'm feeling isolated. There's so many different things that we all might be struggling with that are contributing to our reactions with our kids for sure. All right, my friends, I think that we're at 2:30. Our brains start to shut off about after 90 minutes. So I'm going to end it there. If I did not answer your question, I feel like I got a bunch. I feel like I got a lot of questions in there, and a lot of things overlap too. So I want to thank you all for hanging on, for joining me for this. I will send out the recording to everybody, and I will follow up. If you were one of our winners of our giveaway today, please email me. If you didn't put your email in the chat box, you can send it directly to me in the chat box. So do that now, or just follow up and email me, and I'll make sure that we get you connected and hooked up with everything. And for everybody, remember Love 50 for the Peaceful Solutions 8-week course. You can take another $50 off. It's on sale until Sunday, but you can take another $50 off the sale price and get the whole course for $199, I believe, is that full price with that. So thank you everybody for joining me. I'm so glad that we were able to do this. We're gonna do more. Last year was a little bit crazy and up and down, and I didn't do as many live events as I normally do because this is really where I love to connect. I'm not on social media as much anymore because it just stresses me out, you guys. It so stresses me out. And so I love to connect with you here where we can do things. So stay on my list if you're not on my if you're on the email list. It's probably how you found out about this and you got on. But that's where I let you know about most of the stuff. So if you want to do more events like this, we can you'll find out about them on the list. All right, friends. Thank you again. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your week. I will send out the recording and I'll talk to you all soon.